Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about why we shouldn't be afraid to miss heavy lifts. And I've got included in here some of my attempted lifts that I got, and then some that I failed. And I started up front with some failed deadlifts, and I showed you guys that 600-pound pull that these were prior to. And here's what people need to remember when it comes to max effort lifts. A lot of times people are afraid to max out in general. And it's because they think that they're going to get hurt, or they think that when they miss a lift, they're going to get hurt. And the fact of the matter is, missing lifts on your max effort days is a valuable training tool. It's a valuable feedback tool. Now, that being said, we need to program around that, and we need to anticipate that. We need to understand how to psychologically and physically get around doing those things. But we can't be afraid of missing lifts. We can't be afraid of missing lifts. And that's one of the things that I do what's popular is to use the conjugate method if you're going to max out every week. And that's because we don't get beat up by the same lift every time. Because if you're going to go all the way to a max, you might actually risk hitting failure 6 weeks in a row on lifts. Well, if you keep missing the same lift over and over and over, it psychologically crushes you. And on your nervous system, it does the same thing. It absolutely destroys you on an emotional and psychological level. And even the strongest of lifters find that happens. So by rotating lifts, because if you're missing something fresh, you're not getting beat up by the same exercise, the exact same movement over and over and over, because that will make you fear it. You will start to fear failure if you keep missing the same exercise. But if it's a new one and you're fresh, it removes that element of it. But when it comes to the rest of it, people need to understand that if your programming is on point, you almost never, and when I say almost never, it's like freakishly rare for someone to actually get hurt on a missed 1 rep max. Like, you have to have something not in place correctly. So if you watch some of these, on deadlifts are not really a big deal. Now, I will say on a sumo pull, occasionally you might scrape your shins up, but you probably don't have the best bar path or foot position if that's happening, and you aren't wearing your deadlift socks. Okay? Not wearing your deadlift socks. But those failures teach us. Like, you guys watch those missed deadlifts, those are definitely way under 600 pounds. Then I go do this 600-pound block pull coming up, because I use those as training tools to learn where my weak points are. Before someone says, well, could you do more or less because of that? Well, we'll find out. Probably by the time this video comes out, I will have pulled a raw deadlift from the floor. A lot of coaches and experts feel that the 2-inch off the floor is harder than off the floor. Okay, so that's subject to debate. But I went and did this 600 because I use it as a learning tool. I realized things that I needed to do technically different on the sumo deadlift as far as my own hip position. And I realized that for me, hook grip just wasn't working. I just went back to mixed grip in addition to doing tons of grip training. Because some of those were grip failures. Right? Some of that was grip failures. Now that's gone, because look at that. Just held the 600 nice and clean. So again, you look at your missed maxes, and what do they tell you? They tell you where you're weakest. If your grip is failing, there's something wrong with your grip. Same thing on this right here. I did this higher box squat than what I normally do. Now I have a 502 box squat on a 2-inch lower box in this. So this one's a high box, and 522 completely failed. Now previously, for someone like me, my quads had been my weak link. But now this displayed for me that it's a hip and glute issue. And before, some people say, but Jason, you do a fair amount of hip and glute training. They should be strong. Well, they need to get stronger. Even my glute bridges are indicative of the fact that I need more glute power. Right? You should be able to look at this and tell. I clearly need more glute and hip strength. And my glute bridges, even if you look at the weight I use, it's okay, but it could stand to be 150 pounds heavier. That's for my supplemental work. So yeah, you can look at this, and when you miss lifts, you feel the weak link in the muscle. All right? They take you to school. And that's exactly what happened there. It's exactly what happened. I looked at that, was able to assess my hips and my glutes are limiting my squat. I'm not going to get to a 600-pound squat until I get those a lot stronger. Same thing, we look at this floor press over here. Well, I know because I've gone over to close grip pressing again my triceps for my weak link. But, we watched this one, and this was heavy. This is pretty much a limit set on the close grip floor press. Probably all I could do that day. 315. That's not amazing. But close grip floor press is not bad. But you could see me struggling near the top. So, could be a little bit of tricep going on there. Could be a tricep weakness. Which we know structurally looking at me, I need bigger triceps. You can look at me and tell. You get over and you miss this one. But look how easy it is to get out from under this. I mean, a missed floor press max. Some people might say, oh, that's scary. It could hurt you. The bar could get stuck on you. Your elbows will hit the floor. But if you put yourself in the right positions, that doesn't happen. Okay, it doesn't happen. You're on a rubber floor. So watch what happens. Down here, go to press up. 6 midway. My triceps are lit up. In fact, my triceps hurt as soon as I finished that because they weren't strong enough to lock it or even get it moving correctly. But because you have control of it still, even though it's a maximum weight, because you are doing a single, what does that tell you? It means that you're tight, you're prepared. Now, taking a 5 rep set to failure when you have a good strength base, that's dangerous, that's scary. Because your form can really break down and it can pull you into odd angles. But when you miss a 1 rep max, look what happens on all of these failures. I'm tight and I'm in position. When you miss a lift on a single, not on a double, a triple, a 5, the weight tends to go straight down. It pushes you right back into your normal position, the same position that you lowered the weight in. So if you look at that floor press, because I missed it at the midway point, it was directly above where I lowered it. All I did was an eccentric rep. It was just a pretty fast eccentric rep from halfway. Well, an eccentric rep through your normal safe movement pattern and bar path is fine. It's not going to hurt you. If you have safeties in place, and in that case, the floor is there to catch it. Right, it comes down and I just drop it forward and just crawl out from under it. Just roll it off your body. It's a floor press. You get the big plates. Same thing with that squat. When you miss it, what happens? Because it was not way up near the lockout, it does a good morning. And a good morning means the bar gets pulled past your knees, by the way. For those who don't understand, on a good morning, you're a lot of times bringing the bar past your knees out to the front, right? That's what good morning in a squat means. But when you miss a max, that doesn't happen. Now, if you miss a 5 rep set and it's real heavy, that might pull you all the way forward and fold you over like a taco. Right, that would be dangerous. But a missed max, what happens? You usually miss it midway while the bar is still midfoot and you just get driven straight down onto the pins or the chains or the straps or whatever safeties you're using. It just comes down. In case of even on a box, you just squat down, lower yourself under it and just get out of the way. All right, it's perfectly safe. Same thing with these deadlifts. On those missed deadlifts, there were grip issues happening. And what happened? When you feel your grip starting to give out at all, you notice you slow immediately. Bar speed slows when grip misses. So a lot of times people need to remember that. They're thinking, well, it could be other muscles. Not necessarily. Other muscles played a role, but if your grip starts to give at all, your neuromuscular efficiency goes down. The bar speed slows. And then if the bar speed starts slowing even more, because you're trying to hold on to the grip, and it's your body's way to compensate to slow the velocity so it quits pulling so hard on the hands, and the bar just drops out of your hands. Well, on a missed deadlift, what do? You just drop the weight. Okay? If you miss a deadlift, you drop the weight. Now, some people say, well, what if your back is rounding incorrectly? Well, your back shouldn't be rounding incorrectly. Why didn't you get tighter? Why didn't you brace? Okay, when you see people hurt their backs on deadlifts, it's usually on their rep work. It's their rep work. They're not getting hurt off of a single. There's no bounce off the floor. That's what hurts people's back, is bouncing the bar, touching the deadlifts. That injures you over time. Or a fatigue that accumulates and they start getting more back grounding. But if you're tight, because watch these. It's happening here. The back, everything's tight, and we're pulling. Everything's tight. You get loose when you get fatigued from multiple reps, and that's when people get hurt. But on a 1 rep max, everything is tight. You're bracing your core, you're gripping everything tight, you're not fatigued yet. If you miss a big lift, it's because you just weren't strong enough. Right? There was a strength issue somewhere. I don't care whether it was your grip or your triceps or your hamstrings or whatever it was, wasn't strong enough to lock the weight. And you just miss it. But if you're still tight and the bar is still in the same bar path it would be when you lowered it on an eccentric rep to begin with, you just have it eccentric inside of your normal range of motion. It might be a pretty fast eccentric, but that's all it is. And the bar either hits the floor on a deadlift or you turn loose of it, or you hit the safeties on a press or a squat of some type. It's safe. So why are you scared of it? Don't be scared of it. This is valuable tools. These are valuable tools that show you where you're weakest. Because until you take a lift all the way to the limit, you don't always know where your weak links are. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.